know, I did rate him big time before all of this, but now I rate him even more. We spent the 3 weeks linking up with this gentleman in the land of the rising sun. Sir Spencer Darlington did an absolutely amazing job giving us the really play-by-play of the 2020 Olympic Games, and he joins us now fresh from Tokyo, Japan. Yeah, man, you look like you get all a new haircut since you come.
And no for the U.S.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa, my brethren.
Hey, Neville, morning to you and morning to Simone and our viewers as well.
Hi,
Spencer, in a very serious way, I thought you really did well. We missed absolutely nothing from a Jamaican standpoint. We heard about how Japan was, the barber, everything. You did really, really well. But tell me, because I know it was a little difficult getting there, but tell me first about Japan before we go Olympics. Tell me what you saw and what you enjoyed.
Japan, based on the research I did, Neville, when I went there, Japan is a country which prides itself on good mannerism, law and order, accountability, governance. They operate by the book. In other words, what they do, those are non-negotiable. Even a simple stuff like a median heading to the stadium, if you want to step over the median, they said, no, you have to do it the right way. So it's law and order, and they operate by the books. And the level of mannerism was absolutely magnificent. If we lost our way at any point at all during the journey, the volunteers were so helpful. Let's say we're at the National Stadium and wanted to find the training ground at the Stadium East. They were willing to follow you from our stadium around to the Stadium East. That was the level of the hospitality offered.
So look here, Spencer. Well, first of all, I know Neville is not cute, but I'm going to ask you to look at us. So look into the camera, please. You know this, Spencer. Come on. Look at us now, Spencer.
Yeah, right.
Hi. How are you doing? Okay. I know he's not attractive, but it's okay. Just try to look at me. Were you afraid in going, just with everything that's going on? Such a long leg of the journey. You would have been in flight for so long. And then you're in the camp and we're reading all these reports of COVID and so on. Were you scared heading in?
Well, the human element would make anyone very concerned when you're going into a place, Simone and Neville, and you heard that the daily COVID rate in Tokyo was like 2,000 plus. One day it went to 3,000 plus, and another day I think it went up to 4,000. So understandably, you would have been very cautious and concerned. But based on the meetings we had before, the sensitization meetings, the research I did, we were prepared to practice the protocols from A to Z. And I tell you something, the Japanese were very stringent on this. You would have passed through 4 or 5 checkpoints to get to the stadium. And all those checkpoints require the same requirements, the documents and so on. So they certainly left no stone unturned. We were concerned, yes, but we were prepared to practice the protocols. And both my videographer, Oral Napier, and myself, we kept each other on our toes as far as those were concerned.
You had to be tested before you left here. Were you tested while you were there?
Yes, when you got there, the day you arrived at Neville, that was counted as day 0. After that, the next 3 days, you were required to be in quarantine and tested those 3 days. It was a PCR, self-applied PCR COVID-19 test, saliva test, and you would take that to the main press center. After that, you were tested every 4 days.
Wow.
So you were tested the first 3 days and then every 4 days after that?
Right. After that, it was random testing. You could be called in for a test as well, but it was pretty much like every 4 days after the first 3 days in self-quarantine.
But you did that test yourself?
Yes, and you take it to a drop-off point. They had various drop-off points.
Okay.
So this is not your first Olympic experience, Spencer.
Yes, it was.
Was it really?
I've gone to the World Championships before. This was the first. And let me mention that as a reporter, Simone and Neville, you could have the best ideas in the world. You need a cameraman who is skillful, who has alacrity, who has experience. And that was where the videographer, Oral Napier, fell into place quite admirably. This was his 4th Olympics. He has gone to 6 World Championships. So his skill sets really came in great.
Okay, but so tell me, I mean, so you've been to World, so you have an idea of what's happening. Tell me what it was like being at this event, the scale of what you're doing inside an empty stadium.
There were no fans, as you said, Simone. The stadium has a capacity of 68,000 and it can get up to 80,000 with rugby union and football when those are played. Track and field was starting on July 30. The games overall were starting July 23. So it meant that between July 23 and July 30, you could not just sit around and wait on track and field to inform the Jamaican viewers of what's happening. So as a reporter, it required a level of creativity and innovativeness. I did a lot of the groundwork and research before I left Jamaica so that when we got there, given the number of restrictions and so on and movements, so we would have hit the ground running, and Oral Napier and I were on the same page as far as that was concerned. So yeah, it called for a lot of creativity and all your years of experience in the business.
Right, because nobody inside there. I mean, you've covered all of these championships with the stadiums full. I mean, it must have been such a strange experience to just be, you know, in that situation.
Right, before we went there, we were told that, look, when it was finally decided, or we got indicators the Olympics were going to be held, that these Olympics will look different, they will feel different. It's not the normal situation where you have fans screaming and cheering on their respective athletes. So the only persons who were there in the stands were athletes who would have finished competing on the day, or team officials and volunteers as well. So that was pretty much it.
Yep. Tell me about competition, 1, 2, 3. How did that make you feel?
That was never, it is for this reason why the Olympics are held every 4 years. And when you sat at the top of that stadium and saw 3 Jamaican ladies in the Jamaican colors going past the finish line in the 100 meters, it happened in 2008. And 13 years after, we don't know when this will happen again. Mm-hmm. So you've got to savor the moment at the same time, stay calm as a journalist and get the report across accurately. It was just a fabulous moment and a moment to behold.
That would have been the biggest thing for the Olympic Games, not only for Jamaica. What would be your biggest disappointment from a Jamaican standpoint?
From a Jamaican perspective, I saw 2 athletes, Yannick Thompson and Yannick Thompson, the 100 hurdles, and Stephanie McPherson in the 400 meters. These are 2 athletes who have trained so hard. Thompson, for example, this is the first season Maurice Wilson, her coach, told me that she had gotten in 8 months of full-time training, and Stephanie and McPherson as well came within 400ths of a second, breaking the national record in the 400 meters in the semifinals. Thompson had a hiccup in the hurdles, and McPherson suffered an injury in the final, and she screamed, she cried. She was helped up by Candice McLeod, her compatriot, and a couple other athletes who competed in the final. Those 2 moments were really, really tough from a Jamaican perspective. Tajay Gale got an injury. He was expected to have medaled, the reigning long jump world champion. That was tough as well. And a couple of the injuries in the camp, which prevented athletes from performing at optimal level. But overall, under the circumstances, I thought 9 medals were still pretty good. I had a prediction of 12, and if things had gone right, we could have gotten the 12 or even a few more.
Yeah, I 12 myself.
I want to ask you about, I mean, oftentimes people see us conduct interviews, right? And they think it's an easy thing to do. We watched you, Spencer, you know, Megan tell you, say, look here, this one I have to go longer, you know, but I think it's a short interview this. I mean, she ended up rapping. I mean, but just some of the questions that you asked, right? The questions that we wanted to know, not necessarily the easiest questions to ask. How much did they stretch you as a journalist? I mean, you know, sometimes we have to ask the very uncomfortable questions after somebody has gone through major disappointment. What was that part of the experience like for you?
That was a great experience, Simone. In fact, interviewing is one of my strong points. I regard that as one of my strong points and one of my favorite areas, live interviews, as a matter of fact. And I want to give credit to Faye Ellington, who taught me radio broadcasting techniques, and Erica Allen, television presentation. And Faye taught me that when you're doing an interview, put yourself in the position of the vendor out there, the person who is selling some snacks on the streets, ordinary citizens who would want that opportunity to get close to these athletes, to ask them certain questions. Put yourself in their positions and ask the questions on their behalf, and be their ears and noses and eyes, and also ask questions you want to get answers to, questions Jamaicans want answers for, and questions Jamaicans in the diaspora want answers for.
You were brilliant, Bridget. You were brilliant. Did anyone win by the flare of their nostrils?
Jesus, really gone back there, so mercy.
If I was doing the commentary on the men's 110 meter hurdles, that's what I would probably have said. When Hansa Parchment squeezed it out by the flare of a nostril over Grant Holloway.
What's the highlight of the overall experience for you, Spencer, as we wrap? What is your major takeaway from these games?
That you can, within this pandemic, you can hold the sporting events safely and successfully if you follow the guidelines. and also prepare adequately for your assignment. Whether you're a journalist or an athlete, do your research properly. And when you go into another country, immerse yourself even in the basic aspects of their culture. It will make life more easy for the time that you will be there.
Yep, I said it at the start, Spence, and it is something that I told you, so I'm not jumping on no wagon, but I rate you big time, Bridget. I've always thought that you were an outstanding journalist, outstanding commentator, and I'm impressed with what happened, and very happy that I can say you're my friend. Well done.
Thank you very much, Neville. Thank you to Simone, our viewers. I want to say thanks to my co-workers who offered great support as well, the management of the station and my sports department. They were absolutely admirable and gave great support throughout the Olympic Games, Neville and Simone.
Proud of you, because you're ours.
What kind of vex you never send no money for you while you were there?
No, don't be like that.
I have a yen, some yen I can share with you when I come back to work, and then you go to the BOJ and change those.
And you find that funny, don't it?
You're such a beggy peggy.
No, you're a good journalist, but you're not a comedian. Stop your noise. Yeah,
hold on to your yen. Leave it as part of your historic.
Spence, I love your brother.
I'll do that.
Love your play,
all right,
my brother. Stay safe, all right?
No problem. Thank you. All right.
Sports journalist, our colleague here, and what an outstanding job he did also. And he's right. You needed an outstanding videographer to bring off.
I thought we were going to talk to Napier too, but we probably really don't want to.
No, well, he has a radio face.
Also, he may not say the right things.
Yeah, and it's kind of early for him.
It's a little too early for Napier.
All right. Okay.
And he probably wouldn't want to put on long pants either.
Yeah. So. What's happening now?
Well, it's time to, it's going to be all about dirt when we come back.